The article is showing that people who won the lottery didn't end up any happier than people who didn't win. The article states, one study famously found that people who had big wins on the lottery ended up no happier than those who had bought tickets but didn't win. It seems that as long as you can afford the basic miseries of life, having loads of spare cash doesn't make you very much happier than having very little. The article also talks about an experiment done where participants could work for 6 minutes and get rewarded with vanilla ice cream, or work 7 minutes and are rewarded with pistachio ice cream. Less than 30% of people chose to do the 7 minute task because they liked pistachio ice cream more. The pistachio ice cream was enough to motivate for those people to do the longer task. The second part of the experiment had the same task but different reward system. The 6 minute task was rewarded with 60 points, and the 70-minute task was rewarded with 100 points. Vanilla ice cream could be bought with 50 to 99 points, and pistachio could be bought with 100 points. The task performed and the reward was the same, but now the majority chose the 7 minute task, even though they still preferred vanilla. It was concluded that people chose to maximize their points to try to maximize their happiness.
One term that is important to know for our study is motivation, which is defined as a need or desire that energizes and directs behavior. This is important to know for our study because we were testing if money was the primary factor or was the primary source of motivation for choosing a career path in kids our age. Another important term to know is incentive, which is defined as a positive or negative environmental stimulus that motivates behavior. In our study, money was the incentive. And we also wanted to see how that would compare to the incentives of happiness or self-fulfillment. The last term that's important to know is hierarchy of needs, which is Maslow's pyramid of human needs, beginning at the base with physiological needs that must first be satisfied before higher level safety needs and then psychological needs become active. And here's an example of the hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is important to our study because we wanted to see if money could satisfy more than the basic physiological and safety needs, but also the needs of love and self-esteem. For instance, we wanted to see if the enjoyment and self-fulfillment of a career that the student enjoyed could be replaced by a job that offered a larger salary. So we pretty much just wanted to see how money could alter the order of the hierarchy of needs, and if it did. So the first question that we asked on our survey was, what do you want to be when you're older and why? How much does this career make? And this was our first question on our survey because we wanted to just get a general idea of what the opinion or the outlook of the sample that we were studying would be. So we wanted to see, for instance, if the students would be more on the materialistic side or more focused on self-fulfillment and the actual enjoyment of their career when choosing a career. And so, for instance, we had the first two are very similar. The first one says that they wanted to be an animator to be able to change lives through art and storytelling, and that this made about $40,000 to $60,000 on average per year. And the second example that we found was this person wanted to be a classical or opera voice performer because they love classical music and they really wanted to teach that, and it was something that they're very passionate about. And they said that the salary could range a lot depending on how successful you are. It could be anywhere from $15,000 a year to $250,000 a year. So we found that the majority were like these first two people, and they were focused mostly on what they were passionate about and what they liked most. And then the salary came second because 40 to 60,000 for an animator is not one of the biggest salaries that you can make with the job, and also the second person's sort of ability to risk making as low as $15,000 a year to be able to just be involved in something that they're very passionate about was also something really worth noting. However, we also did find a few, like the last example that we have here, which is a businessman, it makes all the money. So that obviously we were considering as mostly being motivated by financial reasons so that they could make the most money possible. Another question that we asked on our survey was, what would you do for $100? And we created this question because we wanted to test people to see how far they would go for a relatively small sum of money, only $100. So what we did is we sort of increased the level of difficulty or how outrageous the actual activities were by each activity. So, for instance, the first one was just babysit for 2 days, something that a lot of people already do to make money. Then it went to mow 10 acres of land, which is also not that bad, but it's a lot more labor intensive. And then we went all the way to getting suspended from school, something that could really have an impact on your future and really have an impact on your academic life. Thankfully, nobody said that they would get suspended for $100, but with this question, we just wanted to show how much people were willing to sacrifice and how it would affect their happiness for money.